Sun News means politics, and we're in full campaign mode for Battleground Nova Scotia. The provincial election is underway. We start our coverage today with Paige McPherson in Halifax. Good morning, Paige.
Good morning, Pat. Yes, it is a beautiful day here in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and the shots are already being thrown by the three major provincial parties in this election. That, of course, is the NDP, who is the current government, the Progressive Conservatives, and the Liberal Party of Nova Scotia. Now, I have just heard from the Progressive Conservative Party just moments ago, and they're already throwing shots at the Liberal leader here, Stephen McNeil, because there was actually supposed to be a leaders panel, sort of a friendly debate here tonight in Halifax. And actually, the NDP confirmed, the PCs confirmed, but the Liberals did not confirm their attendance. Liberal leader Stephen McNeil backed out of this leaders panel, meaning that the whole thing was called off. So the PCs are already hot on the trail of the Liberals, criticizing them for this point. But of course, we were told by Darrell Dexter just on Saturday, when he dropped the writ in Port Hawkesbury, a small community in Cape Breton Island, that we can expect several debates in this election. So certainly, Pat, there are some that we can look forward to in this race. And despite the fact that the PCs are criticizing the Liberals here, the Liberals are actually the front runner in this race. Now, Liberal leader Stephen McNeil, we caught up with him just yesterday, and we asked him, what does it feel like to be the leader in this race? You're leading in the polls by 10%. What do you have to say about this? And here's what McNeil had to say.
The government always has the upper hand. Government is always the one, they've been out there promoting themselves using taxpayers' dollars over the last number of months. I can tell you what I'm going to continue to do is go out and talk to Nova Scotians, continue to lay out ideas that we think are in the best interest of Nova Scotians. And on election day, Nova Scotians will tell us who has earned the right to govern, who's earned the right to be the Premier, and who's earned the right to sit in the legislature.
Now, Pat, that issue of there sort of being this lead up, this sort of saying that the government has been campaigning for months using taxpayer dollars is definitely the consensus here in Nova Scotia. There are no fixed election dates in this province. It's actually the last jurisdiction in Canada with no fixed election dates. So it really was we were waiting, sitting and waiting to see when Premier Darrell Dexter was going to drop the writ. And when he finally did, really the NDP and some of the other parties as well had already got some good campaigning and campaign signs were already up. So although we are only in day 3 of Battleground Nova Scotia here, the campaigns are totally in full swing. Definitely this province is embroiled in an election currently, and these big issues that we're looking at right now are, of course, jobs, a major issue here, considering that we have our young people in this province moving out west for jobs, and then the fact that the rest of the population here is aging, so we have to deal with services like healthcare. We've also seen a focus from the NDP campaign on education as well, and on keeping the budget balanced and just offering some tax relief. Now, whether we're going to see that is yet to be determined. Really, under the NDP here in Nova Scotia, taxes did go up. So we are expecting the other campaigns to release their platforms shortly. We know that the Liberal campaign is going to be releasing their platform on Wednesday. The PC exact date is to be determined, but we actually have our reporters on the ground with the PCs right now, seeing what they're going to say at this announcement that they're having in just a few minutes here in Halifax. So certainly, Pat, we're going to continue to bring you the updates as this very exciting election continues on today.
Paige, I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Nova Scotia's NDP leader admits that he's facing an uphill battle to hold on to power. Chris Sims has more on Darrell Dexter and how he's counting on rural voters to help him win.
NDP Premier Darrell Dexter has his work cut out for him this time around. That's of course because this is the first time that the NDP has ever held power in this very old province of Nova Scotia. That's right, up until now, since Confederation, it's only ever been the Progressive Conservatives or the Liberals in charge of Nova Scotia. He says for that reason, his governing party is still the underdog.
But that's nothing different for New Democrats. Quite frankly, we've been underdogs in almost every campaign we've ever been in, and so we're used to that position. The reality is that we think we've got something really important to talk to Nova Scotians about. On October 8th, they're going to make a very important decision.
Now, in order to maintain power, he must continue to win those rural ridings, those ridings out in the woods. They have to stay outside of what's often referred to as the metro area here in Nova Scotia. And in order to do that, he's got to win over rural people one more time, just like he did last time. He says that's no problem. He grew up in Milton, Nova Scotia, and is very used to hunting and fishing.
It was actually a regular facet of what you did. You know, me and my friends, and you know, we spent a lot of our active time out in the woods, and it's, you know, kind of part of the appreciation I have, for example, for the importance of the Bowwaters land in southwestern Nova Scotia as you know, an important part of the ability of people in those communities to have access to.
Chris Sims, Sun News Network, Halifax.
Lisa Mrazek is actually following the province's Liberal leader, Stephen McNeil. She has more on his pitch overall on trying to lower energy costs for voters by bringing more competition into the market.
Liberal leader Stephen McNeil spent the first full day on the campaign trail in the Halifax area. After attending a mass service in the morning, he made his first campaign announcement of the day here in Dartmouth, where he said that he would end Nova Scotia Power's monopoly and bring fairness to electricity rates. Residents here in Nova Scotia pay the highest electricity rates in the country, and so he says this will be a key component of their plan for new government.
An end to the monopoly will mean that Nova Scotians will have the right to choose their energy provider. Ending the monopoly will provide stability within a regulated and competitive market. Eventually, the forces of competition will drive our electricity rates down in much the same way that the forced conclusion of the telephone monopoly did to our monthly rates for phone service.
McNeil went on to say that they will enable competition in a highly regulated market by immediately passing legislation known as Renewable to Retail.
A piece of legislation that allows renewable energy producers to compete for your business and sell directly to you, the consumer. This piece of legislation was first recommended to the Conservative government in 2003. That government and successive Conservative governments refused to pass this law. Although they supported this measure while in opposition, the NDP under Darrell Dexter has repeatedly said no to this legislation.
PC candidate Gord Gamble was there and said he didn't hear much of a plan and that what they are proposing has already been done in other jurisdictions.
It's been tried in BC, it's been tried in Ontario, tried right here next to us in New Brunswick. And in all those cases, our indication is power rates have gone up, not down. So the 5-point plan that the PC party has rolled out through our leader, Jamie Bailey, will allow us to freeze power rates. And trust me, it does require a strong renegotiation with Nova Scotia Power.
McNeil says the Liberals' entire election campaign platform will be released on Wednesday, so a day after the leaders go at it on Tuesday for the first all-leaders debate. NDP leader Darrell Dexter has already said that is just one of the many all-leaders debates to come in this election. Reporting in Dartmouth, I'm Lisa Mrazek with Sun News Network.
Going to be a busy day for all the party leaders in Nova Scotia. The three candidates will be crisscrossing the province. So here's where they're going to be heading. Premier Darrell Dexter will be starting the day off in Halifax before making stops in Liverpool, Bridgewater, Lunenburg, and Chester. Conservative leader Jamie Bailey will meet voters in Halifax, Stellarton, and Thornburn. And Liberal leader Stephen McNeil will be visiting Halifax, Lunenburg, before heading to the riding of Chester for multiple events. And as you know, Sun Means Politics, we're your source for this pivotal Nova Scotia election campaign. Get a full wrap of what's happening there with David Aitken tonight at 6 Eastern, 8 Pacific.